All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the June Eloqua User Group meeting. I am not Kristen, as I was saying a few moments ago. Kristen's on holiday, so today you're with me. My name's Kelly Newton. I'm also from Sojourn. Of course, I'm a marketing automation consultant here. I've been with Sojourn since 2020. Previously, I was at Oracle head office in Toronto for about almost 5 years. Yeah, 4+ in their technical support team. I was a senior analyst there. I recently completed my implementation professional certificate. I have my B2B master certification. As I mentioned, I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I'm a mom of 2, fueled by sometimes warm coffee. I'm sure we have a few people out there can relate to the unintentionally iced coffee that you start your morning with. So I'm your group leader today, and our agenda, we're going to cover this month's spotlight, some community reminders. We've got Justin, Sam, and Jessica from Litmus here to present overview and some key benefits for Eloqua with Litmus. Then I'm going to do an overview and a live demo of dynamic content and signature rules. We'll have a bit of an open forum, and then I will point out when the next EUG meeting is. So Spotlight today is for Pride Month. So June is Pride Month, both in Canada and the States. And I noticed last year during Pride Month on a new client's email signature, they had included their pronouns. I already do this on social media, but I hadn't considered doing that at work as well. And what I found really interesting was they had linked the pronouns next to their name and their signature to pronouns.org, which inspired me to do the same. And I found this website really helpful and had a lot of really great resources and just a great way to further promote inclusivity. So I figured that this kind of relates back to, email marketing and relationship management and things like that, since it's in your email signature. So I've included some screen captures here to show how easy it is to just add those pronouns and, make the font type maybe tinier than your name so that it's not, screaming. And then I linked to pronouns.org, like that client's email signature I had seen, super easy to do, and just provides gender affirmation, signals mutual respect, and creates a more welcoming and tolerant environment. I also included a video link on the importance of visibility at the bottom here if you want to check that out after the session. So it just this video is also available on the pronouns website. But yeah, something to consider for showing, clients and other coworkers and colleagues, that you're a safe place. So that's our spotlight. Community reminders. So these are the same as always, of course. We've got lovely Jody Mooney here from Oracle with the top liners link. Release reminders, and Kristen down there, your usual presenter, and she's got the link ready there for our resources from Sojourn. There's a link included also for the free user training from the Help Center, lots of videos in there of high value. And in the middle here from Oracle University, you've got the link to learning how to earn the Eloqua Explorer badge, which I'm sure most of the people that have joined today are probably at least an Explorer, if not more. Definitely, full-time Eloqua users on the call. And then we've got the Oracle YouTube channel there as well, which their playlist contains most of the videos that are available throughout the Eloqua Help Center. And now I'm going to pass it over to Litmus for their presentation today on the key benefits. So I'll stop sharing.
I will start sharing.
Great. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. So hi, everybody. My name is Jess Materna, and I am the Director of Product Marketing here at Litmus, joined by a couple of my colleagues, Sam and Justin, who I'll let introduce themselves in just a moment. I've been here at Litmus for about 4.5 years now. I am based out of the Burlington, Vermont area, and I am just super psyched to be here with you all today and tell you a little bit more about how Litmus works really well alongside Oracle Eloqua. So Sam, do you want to give a quick intro?
Sure. Yeah, morning all. Thanks for joining. I'm one of the partnership directors here at Litmus. I've been here about 7 years or so. About half of that was on our enterprise sales team and the balance on our BD and integrations team. And again, we've done a couple similar sessions like this with Sojourn and the Eloqua User Group last year. So we're excited to do another one today. So over to you, Justin.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Justin. I run our solutions engineering team here at Litmus. I've been here also about 7 years. I will be walking through the platform today, showing you what we have to offer, here to answer any questions, how it works, and generally just giving presentations on how to get the most out of our platform and how it can be leveraged with tools like Eloqua.
Awesome. Thank you both. So today's agenda, we're going to first start by sharing a little bit about really the power of email marketing. Why do we do what we do here at Litmus? Just kind of a little bit of background there. And then the value that we can help you realize from our solution, like Justin was mentioning. We'll go over a couple of success stories, and then Justin will just give you a demo of how it all works. So just to start right off, we know that marketing teams have a lot on their plate. I mean, I'm part of one, and I can definitely vouch for that. So there's a lot of lofty goals that marketing teams often have. On average, 44% of company revenue is often expected to come from marketing, and everything from building brand awareness to acquiring new customers to retaining your existing customers, like all of that is encompassed within what a marketing team has to accomplish. And generating that revenue, hitting those goals, oftentimes email can be one of those really big shining opportunities to do that. Email has an average ROI of 36 to 1, so it's super cost effective, very dependable, very measurable. It really is the key, again, to reaching those overall goals. There's currently 4 billion daily email users today, and that number's only expected to grow to 4.6 billion, which is huge, within just the next couple of years. And what's more, email marketing revenue is expected overall to reach 11 billion by the end of this year alone. So there's a lot of opportunity on the table to get a piece of that email-driven revenue pie. And there's a lot of reasons why email outside of revenue is also such a preferred and important marketing channel. It's the most preferred channel for users. So 50% of consumers say, I want brands to reach out to me by email. That's how they prefer to be contacted. It gives you the ability to reach customers throughout that entire journey that I was just talking about. There's no segment left behind. You can, really get in there and have a full spectrum outreach to all of your customers. It's permission-based, meaning that, again, users have opted in. They've said, I'm interested, like this is how I want to get communication, so they're paying attention. And it's a really great tool to just build relationships with your audience. And as I mentioned, a lot less expensive to scale than a lot of other channels. But there's some challenges when it comes to email, and that's what we really aim to solve here at Litmus. We know that for many marketers, the email production process is really long and cumbersome, and they often have, multiple emails in progress at the same time, and maybe those emails have multiple versions. So there's a lot of complexity when it comes to just building emails. You need to consider, what personalization tactics are best for your audience and how do you implement them. Email testing is often really manual for folks that don't have a solution to help with that. They find themselves just sending emails to different team members who maybe have some different devices, but there's just simply no way to manually test all the possibilities of how your email could display to your subscribers. And then review and approvals, it's a whole nother, challenge in and of itself. How do you get all the stakeholders needed to give that final sign off and do that thorough review of your email? So all of these things can really slow folks down when it comes to getting high quality emails out the door. Then to layer on top of that, a lot of marketers, I think most marketers say that they use more than 12 different tools throughout that entire workflow. So adding in the complexity of having to move between different tools and manually, copy and paste code from one tool to another, that really does open up the door for a lot of potentially costly errors. And that's where integrations like the one that we have with Oracle Eloqua can and will help. So the benefit we really provide to Oracle marketers, we kind of like to think of Litmus as like insurance for your investment in Eloqua. Because what Litmus really empowers you to do is create these exceptional error-free emails as you build in Eloqua with testing that you can automatically use without even copying and pasting code or leaving Eloqua. It's just right there for you. If you prefer to build in Litmus, we have an integration that will automatically sync your email from Litmus to Eloqua, and you still have access to that quick testing just within Litmus instead of Eloqua. And beyond that, we also have integrations that let you get additional insights, subscriber engagement insights. So things like how long are people spending reading your email, and actually automatically combines those insights with some from Eloqua so that you can get that full picture of how emails are performing and where your best opportunities are for improvement. And on top of that, we have review and approval solutions, personalization tools. So really the full spectrum when it comes to email optimization and personalization. Just one more last thing from me before I hand it over to Sam and then Justin. I did just want to touch upon why is it so important? Like if we focus back on testing, why is testing in and of itself so important? Because that is really what our integration focuses on. So just to kind of set the stage there, we know that there are more than 300,000 different ways that every email can display for a subscriber. And emails that look good one day aren't guaranteed to look the same the next day because email clients and devices are making changes all the time. We actually tracked it. We tracked the top 5 or 6 email clients and found that they make a change the equivalent of once every 1.2 days. So these changes are happening. It's not like, Outlook or Gmail is going to reach out to you and say, hey, by the way, we're going to push a new change out. Like they just don't do that. So you never know when the changes are going to happen. And every email is an experience that subscribers are having and customers are having with your brand. So you have to really safeguard those brand experiences because 86% of consumers said they would leave a brand that they actually trusted after just a couple of poor experiences. So we know there's a lot at stake, and that's why, especially when it comes to those integrations, we want to really empower teams to do everything they can to make sure they're protecting and safeguarding their valuable brand perception. So with that, Sam, do you want to take us through why Litmus versus other options?
Thanks, Jess. So just a few bullets here just around sort of Litmus's competitive advantages in the marketplace in terms of testing and rendering. Just on the left-hand side here, really like the breadth and depth of the clients and devices that we're able to test and render HTML across. This is up over 100 at the moment. We obviously know that not every one of our clients is going to test every draft of every email across 100 clients and devices, but just to know that that variety is there and you're able to test across the clients and devices that your clients or the folks opening your emails care about. Support for new devices. So this is critical in terms of how we compete with other vendors in the space. Again, Apple releases a new device or there's a new Android, we're generally first to market with support in terms of testing and rendering. The speed at which we get previews out has always been a competitive advantage. This is critical, obviously, for teams that are sending really high volumes of campaigns and emails, whether that's monthly or quarterly. You can't be spending 5 minutes waiting for each rendering to return. That's just going to chew up too much time and resources. And then just a few high-level ones here on the right-hand side. Our product innovation, the money and resources that we've poured into our platform has really increased significantly over the last 6 or 7 years, not just around previews, but we're now a full, email development platform, some of which Justin will show you in a couple of minutes. Security is obviously critical to everybody in the market. I won't spend a lot of time going through the details there, but we take that quite seriously. And then just folks partner with Litmus, not just because of the functionality of our platform, but because we are generally viewed as leaders in terms of email best practices and industry trends. Just in terms of our full enterprise platform, and again, Justin in a few minutes is going to show you what does Litmus look like inside of Eloqua and what does Litmus look like in litmus.com, our own platform. But just to give you a sense of sort of who we are and what we've built, I would say 75% of our functionality is pre-send. We're not an ESP, obviously. We don't send emails out externally. But if you think about building HTML from scratch, building templates, testing those, whether that's testing the HTML or Litmus Proof, which is a collaborative team-based approach to making sure everybody's on the same page as to what edits need to be made, giving an email a stamp of approval before it goes out the door. That's become quite popular. Litmus checklist. So as the name would suggest, literally a line item of checklist items that we think are critical every email should go through before it goes out the door. Justin will highlight a few of those. And those might be things that you or your clients downstream are doing manually today. We want to make that more efficient. Litmus spam filter testing. Clients are spending a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of money getting emails out the door. Let's obviously ensure in a pre-send environment that they're going to reach their recipient's inbox. And then post-send email analytics. So we have a slightly different approach to email analytics as a lot of the ESPs do. We don't want to focus just on opens because that doesn't often tell a perfect story as to who's engaged with your email. So we like to go a few layers deeper into sort of read time engagement. Just because there were 500 opens on Outlook in a desktop environment, we want to sort of give you some more details around what that means so that when you go back to doing your rendering, you can focus on the right clients and devices. Again, just a quick sort of NASCAR slide here. We work with clients of all shapes and sizes, SMB, mid-market, like our self-serve clients all the way up through the enterprise space. These are just a few of sort of the overlapping clients that we have with Oracle. Some of these you might recognize, and we'll get into in a few minutes in the slide deck that we share, again, how you can get a hold of me or anybody on our team to collaborate on an account or opportunity. And then I'll just highlight one customer success story with Zendesk, as a lot of you are probably familiar, big CRM company in the support and sales space. They were really just struggling with the volume of time it was taking on every single email, not just to test the HTML, but to collaborate with multiple stakeholders internally that had to approve that email. So whether it was from design, the marketing team, maybe it was somebody from finance, maybe it was somebody from legal. Historically, that just led to multiple emails being shot around internally. Very hard to make that an efficient process. So with our integration with Eloqua, which Justin will show you here momentarily, with Litmus Proof, we were able to help Zendesk save about 3 hours per email. Now, on a single email, that might not sound like a ton of time, but if you think of the volume of emails that they're sending out over a month, a quarter, a year, and you sort of pull the string on that, that is hugely a huge benefit from a time-saving perspective, not only just in terms of the emails, but freeing up those email marketers' times to focus on other projects. So I'm going to, and again, we'll send this deck out afterwards to Kelly, who can share with you. But if you need to get a hold of me, my contact information is here. And then there's a bunch of information in the appendix of this deck with a bit more details around, videos of our integration with Eloqua, other information around our platform. So we'll make sure that gets into your hands. And I will pause there and pass over to Justin.
Thank you, Sam. So I will bring us all through a demo of everything that Jess and Sam just highlighted. I'm not exactly sure how much time we have, but I am happy to take questions. If you want to submit that to the Q&A or the chat, and either Kelly, Sam, or Jess, you can just read those out as we go through. I'm happy to address anything. I generally tend to stop at various points for questions anyway, and we can also do QA at the end, whatever works for everyone. But so we're starting off in Eloqua. I'm in the classic builder. And the main thing here that we offer is an integration directly inside of Eloqua for people to test their emails. So again, traditionally, if someone's building an email and they want to test that out, and by test, I mean they're going to send it to themselves or to a colleague, or find this person who's maybe using an Android, that person's got an iPhone, this person's on Outlook, that person's on Gmail, etc. Very time consuming. Also, just in and of itself, it's time consuming to do that, but you might have people that are out of the office. You might not be able to get the full list of devices that you're trying to support. There's a lot of things that can play into that. We have an integration right here inside of Eloqua that can run those previews for you. And by the way, I just ran a live test, so that's how fast that happens. We are able to generally grab all the screenshots from whatever devices you've chosen. So in this case, we actually support around 120 different email clients and devices. Each one of these individual previews would be one device. So I've just opened that up in a new screen. But in this case, I'm looking at Apple Mail 15, and then I have that same thing in dark mode, and then Apple Mail 16, etc. We have various mobile. Let me just scroll through and go to like a mobile version. But my point being, 120 different services for you and devices for you to look at. We do not recommend that teams test all 120. You're going to want to find that sub-selection of devices that your audience that you're targeting is actually using. Because, for example, if your email doesn't look great in Outlook 2010, but 3 people out of your list of 200,000 are opening there, it's probably not worth your time to spend a few hours fixing that email for those 3 people. You can maybe make gracefully the grade to the point where it's still, people can still access it and interact with it, but a rendering issue there isn't, the effect on your bottom line that it might be if it was to something like a newer version of Apple Mail that more people might be using. So you always want to understand where your audience is opening and course correct with that. That is something that our analytics can help you do. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But my point being, all of these are what you can customize and choose to understand where your audience is opening. And these are live screenshots taken from actual inboxes that we host. There's no emulation happening here of any kind. We also do have another option for you to test, and it's via a Chrome extension, which does actually take a few more things, and this is built to work directly with Eloqua. And by the way, I mentioned I'm in the classic editor. In the new dynamic editor, where people can maybe drag and drop, works the same exact way. So you can be in either of those interfaces.
Jake, Justin, can I stop you for a sec? We have a question in the Q&A.
Sure.
From that. So Jake is asking, does Litmus advise on how to fix certain formatting rendering issues, or does that require a resource on the customer side to actually troubleshoot? So is it going to highlight the problem areas, or is that, up to you?
Yeah, that's, at least today, that is up to you. We are just going to surface those rendering issues. You'll be able to see, for example, if I can find one. Actually, this template's probably pretty good, but for example, you might get like a square button in Outlook, or you might get misalignment, or you might get little white lines where your tables are divided. All that stuff can play into it. We have resources, like we have a master guide to coding for Outlook. We have a master guide for dark mode, but there's nothing in the platform today that will say, hey, we found like a square button in Outlook, consider changing this line of code. Although it's something that our team is very interested in taking further in the future. So more on that maybe at a future state, but today it's really just for you to be aware of these things. The same way that, it's taking the process of sending a test email to someone and condensing that down to 2 seconds instead of a few hours.
Thank you so much, Justin.
Sure. I do see another question that came in. So it does work in, forgive me, I don't know what the other interfaces is specifically called, but the drag and drop interface, it'll work totally fine there as well.
The design editor, yeah.
Design editor, yeah. So those are the integrations. What's nice about the Chrome extension as well on top is that we also check a few other things for you, like the subject line, reply to address, preview text. We'll validate links for you. We'll validate tracking links for you. So if you're using, some kind of link tracking, UTM codes, campaign codes, we'll give you the code and the link it's appended to. This is just kind of a big random string, but if it was May 2023 newsletter and it's June right now, I could say, hey, we forgot to update that tracking code. Let's make sure we update it. We'll do an image blocking check, so what your email looks like without images enabled. A lot of people are going to experience your email this way, at least initially, so you want to make sure that that's coming through in a way that is still accessible, in a way that is still able to be engaged with, and that all the important information is still there. Otherwise, if this is the version of an email that someone sees in those first 1 or 2 seconds where they're deciding to engage or not, you've lost that opportunity to get them to engage further.
I
and then we do.
That view is, sorry to interrupt. I find that view is really great for checking your alt text on your images.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Rather than having to open up every single one to check that you didn't forget one, this is a great at a glance.
Yep. That's exactly the piece there. It ties into accessibility as well, which we'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, I always bring up Outlook in this case too, because people can scroll through their previews, their subject lines, like in Outlook, and they just arrow down, and they'll load it up for a second. And if this is what they see for a second, but it's all blank, and there's no alt text and no CTAs, no live text, there's no way that they're going to go any further with your email. So you always want to be aware of what that's like. And then we will do a load speed check. So we'll download all the images in your email, let you know how long each one's taking to load, how big they are, the aggregate load speed. If it's under 2 seconds, we'll generally say you're in good shape. Above 2 seconds, you might want to look at condensing things or compressing things rather, or finding some solution. So all of that directly inside of Eloqua, again, removing really a lot of the need for any of those initial back and forths of, hey, I just built this email, but I want to make sure it looks good everywhere. Let me spend a few hours doing that. And in this case, we've done that in a matter of 3 minutes talking through it. So I can jump over into the Litmus platform now to just give you an idea of the more expanded tool set that we offer. Anyone that has access to these tools is going to be on our enterprise plan. And there's actually a lot more that comes with our enterprise plan. So I'll talk about some of that now. But everything we've just seen happens all in Eloqua. I've just jumped over to the Litmus screen. This is our app for those of you that are maybe not familiar with Litmus at all. There's a lot going on here. But the way that generally we would link up with a team using Eloqua is by this little button here that says send in your email. The same way that you send a test email to yourselves, to colleagues, to stakeholders, to whoever, we also act as a sort of testing inbox. So you can include the litmusemail.com address that comes with your account, and that's customizable, by the way. So you can have, client or brand name at litmusemail.com, whatever is easy for you to remember. When you send an email into that address, it lands in your Litmus account, and we are able to do several things for you. I do want to jump to previews in QA first. This is going to be very familiar to you now because a lot of it is what we cover in those integrations. But I wanted to call out a few things here. One, this is an area where you can choose those email clients that you're testing. So here's where you have access to our full kind of lineup and what you can enable and disable. Also from an admin perspective, you can turn a lot of these off if you want to keep your account kind of streamlined to a specific use case. But there's a lot here that we offer, and then those will all be available to you in our previews. You can see the table of contents, so to speak, over here on the left-hand side. So this is the full audit on the email. Again, a lot of this we've already seen inside Eloqua, but keep in mind as well, if you have any dynamic content, field merges, anything like that coming through, since you've now sent it to us, all of that will be taken into account. So any dynamic scripting, any dynamic content blocks, we're now able to test all of that as well, just in case anything is going to be different when you actually send that through. So one thing that we do here is an accessibility audit, and this is a big growing trend. It has been for a few years. It's only going to continue being that way, I think, kind of like dark mode. We can make sure that your emails are accessible. Alt text is a big piece of that, but there are several other aspects to an accessible email, and all of that plays into engagement anyway. The best practices for accessibility pretty much align with the best practices for email in general. Just the more people that can access your email, the higher your engagement's going to be. It's just going to be overall a better experience. So we call out areas of your code that you might be able to improve. We give you visual impairment filters, which will simulate what it might be for someone with some sort of red-green color blindness or other sorts of visual impairments. If they see how your brand colors come through, whether the contrast is still okay in certain situations, all good things to consider. And we do give you a transcript from a screen reader, and you can listen to that read back to you via that screen reader as well. So a pretty robust offering there from an accessibility standpoint.
Wow, that's really cool. I didn't know about the screen reader. That's incredible.
Yeah, we don't really see that offered a lot of places.
No.
I think Litmus is one of the only ones, if not the only one, that does it in this realm.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I mean, what's nice about this is, we think about accessibility specifically for people with permanent accessibility needs, but there are very much so temporary accessibility needs when you think about someone that might be super busy in the morning and they're getting ready for work and they want their Alexa to read their email to them, or their Apple Watch or whatever, or they're driving. There are cases where these accessibility features come to light in what we usually refer to as temporary, needs of accessibility. So all of that makes sure that your email, no matter what, no matter when, is accessible to whoever needs it at any given time. All of that plays into engagement. The only other thing that's different here compared to what we already saw in Eloqua is the spam test. So we cannot run a spam test unless you send it to us, because it requires understanding your sending domain and IP address and things like that for us to actually check it. So when you deploy it to us, we are able to check things like your authentication. We'll check to see if your IP or domain are showing up on any block lists. These are the types of things that can change for seemingly no reason at any given time. You just want to keep your eye on it. So for anyone that you're working with, it's a really nice peace of mind offering on a send by send basis to offer. So all of that just with one test send, they're waiting for you, aligning your program with what we consider to be the best practices for sending out an email. So next, if there are no thoughts or questions there, which of course, if they come in later, put them in later, we want to move on to proof, and I'm just trying to be mindful of time, which is why I'm going through this so quickly. But from the same original test send that we just got from Eloqua in our kind of sample workflow here, the previews in QA loads up like we just saw. The proof tab simultaneously loads up, and this is a tool that helps facilitate and consolidate any of the feedback and approvals that your team might need to work through. This is often a very fragmented process. It often is one of the biggest bottlenecks in the email workflow, like Jess was talking about. You send an email to get approved, you might be dealing with one huge, long, unwieldy email thread. Someone can forget to reply all, someone's out of the office. You might have a different email thread going to a different department. You might need to get something signed off from a legal department, people that aren't really involved in email. All of that plays into it. And it's usually on one or two people to consolidate all that feedback, to prioritize it, and then execute on it. And all the while, you might get conflicting feedback throughout that process from different people at different levels of the hierarchy. It's a lot. So proof takes all of that and consolidates it and makes it very transparent and easy to follow. So I will demonstrate now. You get 3 views of your email: desktop, mobile, and plain text. Plain text would come from Eloqua. On any of these views, you're able to click anywhere and comment. So I can click on the image. I can say, some piece of generic feedback. Hopefully you'd be less vague when you're giving feedback to teams. But when you post that comment, anyone that you tag, and you can create groups of people and tag them all at once, anyone that you've tagged gets an email notification stating, hey, you've been tagged in an email. Come take a look. Here's the link. And they'll be able to come in here and reply to that. Also, this is live HTML. It's not just a screenshot. So you can highlight things like copy and quote that specifically. So you're not just kind of leaving random marks on a screenshot. It'll actually quote what someone's referred to. Anything like a link or any animated GIFs, any hover states and progressive enhancements, things like that, you'll be able to comment on all of those elements and see them come through. So all of that's relatively simple. Click, comment, tag people in comments. Where this gets really powerful is the share feature. You are actually able to create a link and share this with anyone. And when someone accesses that link, they do not need a Litmus license to view or interact with the proof. And yeah, sure, I'll take the question, Kelly, if you have it.
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to stop you there real quick to ask, do the people that you can tag in the feedback on there, do they all need to have a Litmus account, or is that, how does that work?
Yeah, they don't. So that they are what we call proof reviewer users. So there's a few ways this can be handled. One, proof reviewer users are free and unlimited on enterprise accounts. So let's say you have a legal group that needs to sign off on every email. You could put all those legal people in that group into a proof reviewer group and tag them from that point on. And then they'll just be on your account and taggable. However, you can also just send them this link. When they click on that, they'll come to basically a sandboxed version of this page. They won't see previews, they won't see analytics, they'll only see the proof you've invited them to, but they will be able to click and comment and tag existing people on the account. At that moment, they will not yet be a person on your account. They won't have like an account, but the moment they make any sort of comment or take any sort of action, it'll say, hey, you want to make a comment? What's your email address? And they'll just put in their email address so that when someone makes that comment, it's not an anonymous comment. It'll put the attributed email address to that comment. But on the back end, at the same time, them putting in their email address actually makes them a proof reviewer on your account. And so they don't actually experience like a login, sign up form or anything like that. It's just them making a comment, and now they're a user on your account. So it's a very easy it's
Sounds like a
it's
really
like,
great user experience. Yeah.
yeah, it's like going into a Google Doc and making a comment.
Right.
There's no added complexity or step to getting someone involved in the account. And since they're free and unlimited, there's no risk of sharing that link out. Whoever needs to access it can have it. Once that person is a proof reviewer, they can then be added to groups and tagged and all that. But you can do that in the front end as well. I could get a
Awesome.
Litmus account and set up a bunch of proof reviewers and then do it that way as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the big piece of proof, is the ability to expand that process to other people that aren't on the email team, because that's what contributes to those bottlenecks and to that fragmented stream. Whereas everyone coming to the same place, you might be using a project management tool. We work with a lot of teams that are using things like Wrike or Workfront or Jira and things like that. Those are master task managers, but you can always just paste this link into one of those PM tools, and the people that have access to that can access the proof through there. The people that don't have access to those tools on the same team can get the link through email or Teams or Slack or whatever they're using. It just allows everyone to come into the same place. And kind of the way that all gets rounded out is we have a full version history and audit trail. So any view in any version and anything that ever happens is recorded. You can download this and keep it for posterity's sake, for compliance, for audits, audit trails, but every comment, every approval, everything is stored here for posterity's sake. So we are seeing a lot of teams use this these days actually for compliance checks with their security teams. People, the teams want to go back, just especially in marketing, if there's specific language going out, specific brand guidelines being followed, people want to be able to audit that for compliance reasons going back a certain amount of time. So it's a good way to keep record of that as well. From here, I know that was a lot. So again, happy to take questions or pause. I'm going through this super quickly because I don't want to take up the full, time here, but we do also want to cover analytics, and I can do that pretty quickly just to give you a sense of what we offer. I have a separate analytics report just loaded up here, just to give you a sense of a real report and the real data that we are capturing. So Litmus Analytics is not meant to replace analytics that you're currently using. It's meant to augment and help you go deeper on analytics that you're already getting from places like Oracle or Eloqua or anything else. We generally do not track the same things. We're not tracking clicks or click-throughs or bounces or unsubscribes. We are tracking really two main things, what we call engagement and read time, and top email clients. Top email clients, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but when you're, for example, trying to figure out what previews matter to you, this is where you can find that out. We can tell you exactly what types of devices your audience is using so that you know what to design for, you know what to test for, you know what to QA. And on the other side of things, like if someone comes to you and says, hey, we want to build this crazy interactive email with a bunch of animated aspects and progressive enhancements, and then you tell them, hey, your entire audience is using Outlook 2010, they're not going to be able to see any of that stuff. You can kind of guide with empirical evidence and empirical data just the best way to continue and build out and scale your email program as your audience changes or as they get access to new things or leave other things behind. The other piece is the engagement and read time, and this is a really cool one. It can help you understand not just are opens happening, but it qualifies those opens for you into 3 categories: glance, skimmed, or read. So if someone opens the email and clicks right out of it, like again, in the case of Outlook, someone's scrolling down through their subject lines and then just loading up the email for a second, those will show up as opens for all email tracking services, for us, for Eloqua, for anyone. But we will then further qualify that and say, hey, it was a glanced open. It's not really contributing, probably not contributing to the success metrics that you're really measuring. You want to always aim to move people into those other categories. So those are the 2 big things there. We also do segment out MPP affected opens, which I understand Eloqua, I think, does or has a solution for.
That's correct. Yeah, they've been
Yeah.
adjusting the reporting to be mindful of those Apple or other auto open and auto click.
Yeah,
data.
and
Yeah.
from what I hear, it's very good at that. So that's really good. So that's something that we also do. The reason I mention it now is because the opens that the data that we see in these 2 other elements is with this already segmented out. So we are not inflating the read times and the open devices. We basically just take all those app mail opens and we segment them out because they're unreliable. We don't know even if the person that's getting that email even knows it exists. This all actually goes to the individual level as well. We can export things via API or FTP. If you've got existing BI tools or business intelligence, data lakes, anything like that, we can plug nicely into a lot of those. And for every single open that occurs, we give you the time, the device, the amount of seconds it was read. If it's from an image cache, we'll default that's a -1 because, again, it's unreliable. And it will be tied back to, in Eloqua's case, the field merge for something like recipient ID, so that we have no idea who that person is. But when you export it, you'll be able to align those opens with someone specific in your CRM so that you can get more targeted and basically down to the individual level, get a little more sophisticated with your segments that you're building out.
It's a great way to protect the PI as well.
Yeah, we are fully buttoned
Awesome.
up when it comes to security and privacy. No PII, GDPR compliant, SOC 2 compliant, all that. We have a dedicated team that can talk through all of that. We're used to it by this point. We're no stranger to it.
Yeah, love to see it.
So I know that's a lot to kind of absorb. Again, I understand for the majority of you, this is kind of just the cherry on top in terms of the platform, the main thing being the Eloqua integration and what you can get right there inside Eloqua very quickly to just add a lot more efficiency and accuracy to the QAs that you're running today. I'm happy to stop there and answer any lingering questions.
Thank you so much, Justin.
Sure.
Off the top, I mean, I don't know about everybody else, but my first question is, so you said you have access to both of those when you get the Eloqua access as well as in the browser, and are all of the tabs available, or is that a la carte when you're signing that enterprise agreement, or how does that work?
Yeah, I can jump in on that one. Yeah, with an enterprise subscription, yeah, one of the primary reasons folks sign up for the enterprise level plan is integrations with some of these third parties, Eloqua being the topic today. But yeah, everything that Justin showed you is included in an enterprise subscription. And those, to answer your question, Kelly, no, they're not a la carte. It's everything is inclusive. So the builder tool, the checklist, proof, email analytics, spam, that's all included. The way the plans are structured and the way the dollar value of the contracts is determined, I'll just spend 30 seconds on this, really sort of the size of the team using it, the volume of previews. So we have ways to determine how large is the bucket of previews that Coca-Cola might need for the next 12 months to use Litmus. And a lot of that is obviously volume of campaigns, how many clients and devices per month, et cetera. And then the third component is really volume of email analytics. So how many opens do you want us to track for you, Coca-Cola, over the next 12 months? Those three figures sort of go into a formula to determine size of contract, et cetera. So if folks have more detailed questions or specific accounts they want to run by us, I'm happy to either answer those questions offline or put you in touch with the right folks on my side.
Thank you.
Sure.
I don't see anything else in the Q&A right now. So I think we'll move along unless anybody wants to add.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you guys so
Thanks,
much.
Kelly.
That was an awesome presentation. Okay, so let me back and share my screen now. Of course, it's disappeared on me, probably because I had it in full screen. New presenter glitch. There we go. She's back. Here we go. Okay. We're gonna share it. Whole thing. All right. Okay, so yeah, thanks again to the team at Litmus. That was awesome. I'm going to quickly cover the dynamic content and signature rules. So I'm going to do a little overview and then I'll go right into Eloqua and show you how it works. So the dynamic content, for anyone that's unfamiliar, that allows you to create customer specific content, which changes depending on who's viewing it. So an email sent to one contact versus an email sent to another contact might have different content inside of it. So this also allows a flexibility and adapting to certain preferences, location, language, salesperson. There's a lot of different reasons to use the tool. And while you can use field merges in dynamic content, and the technology in general is similar, the major difference is that field merge will just display the Eloqua data, whereas dynamic content uses that contact data to determine which version of the content should be displayed. And for the signature rules, something I thought was interesting to share was about dynamically setting the sender information. So the same way with dynamic content, but you can do the from and reply to addresses in an email. So to utilize this feature, you have to identify the key field in your Eloqua data that can determine the sender information. So like I mentioned, that might be salesperson, record owner, territory ID. And then in the user settings, you would expand the general info menu, which contains the signature fields. And I'm going to show you that in just a moment. And that's where you can set the email sender display name, reply to address, and other sender address fields. You can even add a picture of yourself or custom signature you can upload. So let's go to Eloqua. All right. So we're going to take a look at some dynamic content. So for anyone that hasn't seen it before, the idea is pretty simple. You can set your rules to determine what the content should look like. So your default rule is just going to show, this is what it'll see if the people don't meet the criteria within your rules. So rule 1, if the salesperson value is equal to test KN contact, then they would see this customized message from me with a cute little joke for me, which isn't in the default rule. So major difference there, just a little joke about A/B testing. And then I'll show you really quickly how to set up a rule in this rule 2 window. I can just minimize that. Okay, so you can click full. You could add an image if you want. You can put a link on it if you need. And then here we're going to hit the plus symbol and say, compare contact fields. So similarly to the segment tool, you determine what criteria should be met here. We want them to see this if their city is in a certain pick list, or if, you know, country is exactly. So up here in Canada, they'll see this, if they meet that criteria. So super brief on dynamic content. And then if we go to signature rules. So here you can choose what would be included in the signature rule. So you can either check or uncheck, you know, toggle these on and off. If you want the sender display name to be included, the sender display address, reply to display name, or reply to address, they might not want all of those, and you're going to determine what that key field is. So if the salesperson equals Kelly Newton, then the email sender will be set to Kelly Newton. So if we were to add another one, and I want the field value to be what I had before, then I can choose from this list of users in Eloqua to determine who this email should be sent from. So if we save it, now to see how that's set up in the user, I'm going to go to the gear icon under users and security, click users. And then I'll just go to myself for an example. So right here, there's this kind of hidden feature, general info signature fields. So if we click the drop down arrow, this is where you can configure what the email sender display name, reply to address, and all of this other signature information that might be relevant to include. I've included a photo of myself just for fun. And then you can choose from your signature layouts, the ones that you've already built in the instance, and see which one might be important to use. So then once you save, then those settings would be applied and used whenever you use that signature rule. Were there any questions on the dynamic content or signature rules? Or shall we go straight to the open forum and just any questions that people have thought of from what you've seen here today in the presentation, or any topics that you'd like to see next time, or tips and tricks on the areas that we covered today if you're a heavy user of those tools, or if you're already using Litmus and you have anything to say about that, or any questions about that, or maybe you'd like to present something. Maybe you'd like to be in the driver's seat. Let us know in the Q&A. Not seeing any, no hands. Nobody wants to present. All right, well, if nobody has any questions, I think we'll wrap early. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending today. Thank you, Jessica, Justin, and Sam, for presenting. Our next Eloqua User Group meeting is Thursday, July 20th. We will email you a reminder to register about a week before that. And if you have any questions, you can email myself or Kristen, of course. She'll be back next week. Otherwise, cheers and enjoy the long weekend, everyone. Oh, I see some messages in the, oh, just thank yous. I was like, oh, a question. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.